Welcome to the April 8th, 2025 City of Bloomfield Hills City Commission meeting. Please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we can review the consent agenda. I'd like to start off by saying it's just in reference to the minutes. It was unfortunate there had to be so many changes made to the February meeting minutes. The original minutes insinuated that the proposed planning policy was approved, but it was not. There were multiple concerns and questions regarding the policy. Robert's rules dictate that discussion should be included in the minutes if no action is taken. Commissioner McCarthy and I objected to the changes proposed that affect the Planning Commission, not those that assist the city manager with day-to-day administration. We wanted the planning chair to have a voice in the changes and asked that this policy be reviewed with him. Upon learning this was not done, I asked the planning chair to appoint proper subcommittee to review this planning policy that was originally crafted in 2022, and that's forthcoming. So now we can continue discussing all the aspects of the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a comment, if I may, about the changes to the minutes. I do have some experience with minutes. I was the assistant secretary of Kmart Corporation, and I took the minutes for 40 different Kmart subsidiaries over about a 20-year period. And I also took the minutes for the finance committee of the publicly traded corporation, which was Kmart Corporation. So I have some experience with minute taking and what you include in minutes and what you don't include in minutes. And I can tell you that Amy is an expert here.
She is an expert.
She knows what needs to be included and what should not be included. And we really shouldn't be second guessing her on this, and we shouldn't be. She's developed a style of the minutes over the past 24 years, which she's been taking her minutes for that length of time. She's developed a style that's very consistent and balanced and is unbiased, and that's the style that she carries forward into every set of minutes. She probably knows more than the collective group here about minutes than all of us. So I don't think it's fair to say that you want to make all these changes to these minutes. And I think you're mischaracterizing what took place. If you read the agenda item on the February 11th meeting, if you read the memo that was included, it was just a report. It was just a report to the commission on changes that were made to the policy, mainly in response to a Michigan Supreme Court case. And as the city manager explained, when going through it, he made some other upgrades. They were, a handful of changes. No action was taken. There was no motion made on it. There was no vote taken. There was no resolution passed. The city commission did not approve it, and that was clearly indicated in the first set of minutes that were provided to us. This is a no action matter, and it doesn't merit 3.5 pages of notes in the minutes. It's like a red flag now that's very uncharacteristic of the way our minutes have been taken, and it's a red flag now that's frankly unjustified because it was just a report of some changes. And the action that was taken was that the city manager volunteered to meet with the chairman or the chairman of the planning commission to go over the changes. That was all that was authorized. There was not any authorization given by the city commission to allow anyone else to do anything else. There was no authority to refer it to the planning commission or to direct the planning commission to have a subcommittee review it. The last thing that was done, the very last resolution, was that the city manager would meet with the planning chair. So I don't feel that the changes that you've proposed, and many, many different sets of changes, I don't feel that any of them accurately reflect what took place or accurately characterize what it was that we were talking about. And frankly, it's become very unbalanced, and it's no longer an accurate depiction of what took place. So I'm not in favor of all these changes that have been proposed.
I disagree. The minutes did not reflect that there was no action taken. They did not reflect it was proposed, and
They
a
weren't
lot of the
proposed.
actions make changes for the planning commission.
They were
And
proposed.
I am all for the policy for him to run his administration. I was just asking that the planning commission have the consideration for the changes that affect the planning commission. And that was not clear. And there were things that were in the agenda that were not discussed, that were put in the minutes. And I have objection to that. And all of my changes reflect exactly what was said. And Amy is an expert minutes person. I have never denied that. And she verified which things were said and made it more clear.
But that doesn't mean just because she could verify something, it didn't mean that it should be in the minutes. There's too much detail. I think if you go into Robert's rules and the MML League's recommendations for minutes, you'll see that they don't recommend all this detail. They don't recommend he said, she said.
They
do
do. If
not.
there's no
No,
action taken, the
they do
discussion
not.
should be noted. And I think Dirk made some really important points about OMA and other things that should be noted.
Well, that was noted in the original draft.
it was
of the
not.
minute. Yes, it was.
He made it very clear that a lawyer does not need to be present in a subcommittee meeting. Open Meetings Act. So that needed to be in print, in my opinion.
I don't.
There were.
Dirk, was that made clear? I don't understand.
I think
It was a
in
quote that he
some
made.
sub situations you don't need an attorney at a subcommittee
Yeah.
meeting. I think in other situations you do. I think it's
Yeah.
kind
You
of
made it very clear when we were discussing it, and we asked you directly, do you have to have a lawyer in a subcommittee
Do you
meeting?
have
And
to
you
have
said
a lawyer?
no.
No, you don't have to have a lawyer, but there are going to be certain circumstances where a lawyer's presence is going to help.
Right,
It's
and
you
who's-
would just have to look at it on an ad hoc basis and make a decision.
Right, and the
based-
question is who decides that? And the bylaws read that the chairman of the planning commission dictates who attends the subcommittee meetings.
But
Well-
that kind of begs the
And
question
it's
because
his judgment.
it's his judgment who he invites, I suppose, but at the end of the day, it's got to be an open meeting, and anybody.
I'm not denying that.
So if, for instance, the chairman doesn't invite a lawyer and Dave invites a lawyer to attend, it's an open meeting.
But as a city commissioner, we have a fiduciary duty to our residents. And
Correct.
we have to change a lot of our ordinances, and they take hours and days. And many times you don't need a lawyer there. We gather all the evidence. For instance, how tall a replacement tree should be. What are the species that we think are appropriate for our town, our city? We don't need a lawyer there. We don't need to pay for a lawyer for those details to be ironed out.
I would totally disagree with that, at least with respect to zoning ordinance amendments, which involves the planning commission and the subcommittees. If you didn't have, the planning commission subcommittee meetings we have had on zoning ordinance amendments have gone meeting after meeting after meeting. And if you didn't have a lawyer there, you'd have 10 meetings instead of 5 meetings. It's just the fact of the matter. You know, I'm there to try to distill what 6 different people are saying into one thing, and then
Well, that's-
at the next subcommittee meeting on that same ordinance, the goalpost changes. So, it may appear that you're saving $1 and doing a fiduciary.
It's hours and hours.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
we'll just respectfully disagree on that point. But
it's one example. A while back, I was on the subcommittee for the sign ordinance.
Right.
There was never an attorney there.
sometimes it's an ad hoc thing. You're not legally obligated to have one there, but depending on what subject matter you're going to talk about and the complexity of it, sometimes it serves the purpose to have a lawyer there.
I would say
Sure.
sometimes, but not all the time, right?
Not all the time.
Like
no.
on the idea with the sign ordinance, we had 4 or 5
Yeah, no.
meetings, but we never had.
I would agree, Susan. Not all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I think that's all we're saying.
And
It's
I
not all
want to
the
make
time,
it
just once.
clear that there's not a
But
legal
I think-
obligation to have a lawyer there.
No, but I think you're getting away from the subject matter here, which is the minutes. The minutes should only reflect what happened and
What
not
was
what you
said.
think should have happened. And I think that a
They
lot of
don't.
your comments were reflective of what you think should have happened.
Not
You
true.
attributed things to all of us that you said. There were just
I did
lots of
not.
issues.
I
Yes, you
took
did.
it quote for quote.
No,
I
you
went through the
didn't.
entire video
Well,
and only used quotes.
well, you.
And if you
it's a-
didn't
it's
go
a-
through the video then, and you
it's a
didn't
mess.
compare
I
it
was
to the
at-
minutes. Did you go through the video? Did you watch the
Yes, I
video?
did. Yes, I did.
And compare it to the minutes? 'Cause
Yes, I
those were
did.
only
Yes,
things
I
that were
did.
actually said.
No, that's not true. You said a lot of things. I mean, it's hard to know because you've had about at least 4 different sets of revisions.
I wanted it to be clear
It's
what
hard-
was said,
but you
because
can't-
then when this policy gets formed, they can refer to the minutes and they can see what is legal, what is not.
That
That's-
isn't what's happening here. The minutes are a record belonging to the city. The minutes are a permanent record. They're not a vehicle to air your grievances.
It's
They're
not
a
airing
vehicle.
grievances
They're
at
not a
all.
vehicle to make a point. They
Dirk-
just
Dirk was
record
helping
what
us
happened. And
Define Open Meetings Act. Dirk was helping us define certain things on
Well,
the,
I'm finished, but I would not vote in favor of any of these changes. I would go back to what Amy proposed to us when we came to the meeting in March, what was in front of us.
you didn't take the time to compare the minutes.
Yes, I
to the
did.
video.
Believe me, I've taken many hours on this, and so has Amy. Amy has taken
She has.
an
and I really
unforgivable
appreciate
amount of
her
time on
input.
this. And Amy knows what should be in the minutes. You shouldn't
She
include all this
clarified everything
detail.
was approved,
No, she
that she
didn't.
put in.
When you include all this detail in the minutes, you're subjecting the city, because it's a city record.
would have
you're
liked not to
you're
have put
You're
that detail
subjecting
in,
the city
but
to
I-
liability, legal liability, when you include all of this detail
The
on
minutes
something
didn't
like this.
reflect that the policy was not accepted, and I
Okay,
felt that
I'm-
we
I'm-
needed to
that's all
clarify
I
that it
have
was
to
not
say.
accepted.
That's all I have to say.
So how do we move forward with how to adjust the minutes, Dirk?
You vote on the minutes. And if you get 3 votes to vote in favor of any version of the minutes, that's the minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the version of the minutes that were with the first set of amendments that were provided to us at the beginning of the March 11th meeting.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Further discussion,
Those
please.
opposed, please say no.
Further discussion, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just,
I think, I
There
didn't
have
get a
been a
chance
lot
to
of-
say
there-
anything. I
there-
think you'd like to say a few things.
yeah, I just wanna, it's hard for me to, I know what originally came out. I know there was an extended, conversation concerning the changes with respect to the Open Meeting Act and what that all meant to the city. Then there were other subsequent things that were tied to that with respect to planning, and I can't think offhand of the other. There seemed like there were follow-up items relevant to the Planning Commission and how that was going to interact with them. As I sat here on February 11th, it felt like there was going to be follow-up dialogue with respect to how that was going to interact with that body. So in my mind, there was going to be a follow-up meeting as to how that played out. So when I read in the minutes that it was, in fact, it felt like it was approved, and I thought that was not how it was left. And so I guess how do I
So you interpreted the
address the
minutes.
fact that I agree with the discussion concerning the Open Meeting Act, but there were follow-up issues relevant to the Planning Commission and how that was going to play out, and there was follow-up that was going to be forthcoming.
Well, some of the fundamental I'll just say it, some of the fundamental understanding or misunderstandings here, and one of the things we're gonna talk about hopefully in the closed session is this policy doesn't need commission approval. It was policy that under the charter, the city manager has the right to bring and implement without city commission approval. I think the city manager.
Even though it oversees the planning commission?
Pardon me?
Even though it changes
But
the
it
bylaws
doesn't.
of the planning?
It doesn't. If you read that policy, it doesn't impact how the planning commission does business at all. It impacts how the administration provides the planning services to the city, including the planning commission. It doesn't impact anything the planning commission does. As a result of that, it's an administrative policy, and as an administrative policy, the city manager can approve it. So,
May I ask-
I lived through the February 11th meeting too, and the discourse back and forth. You know, truthfully, minutes, the general rule is less is more for liability purposes under the Freedom of Information Act, the MML, and all the various MTA, all the various organizations will say less is more. You know, you could write those minutes and simply say the city manager presented a policy, an amended planning services policy, and there were divergent opinions with respect to the same. That's completely accurate. I'm just,
That would be, I would agree with that.
That's what I would,
May
I would agree with
I
that.
would agree with that.
May I ask the commission who feels that the policy was approved in that meeting?
I
Raise your
said
hand if
it
you
wasn't,
think that
it wasn't
policy-
approved. He didn't ask for our approval. There was no motion made, there was no
That's why I
vote
think it's-
taken. No, and that's
That's why I think
clear,
it's
but that's
unfortunate the
clear in
minutes
the
indicate
minutes. It
that.
doesn't say that there was action taken, or that there was a vote, or that there was a resolution adopted. You can read between the lines there. You don't have to say it wasn't approved by the commission, because it wasn't a matter that was even on the agenda. It didn't say it was supposed to be approved by the commission, and it didn't say that in the memo, and it didn't say that in Dave's presentation. So there's no point in making a big deal about it not being approved by the commission, because it was not asked to be approved, and it wasn't approved. And
Well,
we
it
all
was
know
asked
that.
that the planning commissioner be involved with the document, and
Yeah,
that didn't happen.
and that
So
was
that's why a
noted too.
subcommittee
That
is
was
formed,
noted too. That's why he was going to meet with
And he
the
chose
plan-
not to.
No, he didn't
That's not
choose
true.
not to. He was waiting until all this got
I waited, I was
resolved.
waiting to talk to the full commission about this.
Yeah.
And I'm
Dave, that's
sorry.
not fair.
What's not fair about it? You're not being
You chose
fair.
not to speak with him.
Yes, until I can speak to the full commission about the issue.
There's not, it wasn't resolved. It was left so open air, he needed to wait until it was solidified.
Well, it's
more.
because you told me you chose not to speak with him that I asked the chair, the planning chair, to create a subcommittee, as this policy was created originally, and to do it properly, and have the proper people put this policy together.
Well, if I could make just a couple of
Only
comments.
with regards to the planning commission,
Sure.
not your administrative, day-to-day activities. That, you should absolutely have your policy to cover that, and
Well,
I'm so supportive
I
of
do
that.
appreciate your support, and I just have a couple of comments. One is, I originally brought that here because I wanted to show the commissioner respect of what I was changing. And I never had the chance to fully explain it. There's only a couple items that we went through. I never had the chance to fully explain it. Then, we did have a conversation, email or whatever, about, or at the end of that meeting, I'd be happy to talk to the chair. But I know if I didn't talk with the full commission first, there probably would be some trouble there. I don't want it. I don't want the conflict. I want to be able to talk to the chair about some of the changes that the staff is doing to make sure that all the services run appropriately, because that's my job. Then when I talk with you, I said I did not talk with him yet because you have told me that this is not approved. And so I thought, well, probably should talk about it again so we can discuss it with the full commission, just to kind of talk about these few changes. That was my intent. And I would be happy to talk with the planning chair at any moment.
Well, I think it's past that point. It's been 2 months, and you still have chosen not to speak with him. And I think it's more appropriate that a subcommittee be formed. As mayor, it's my authority to ask him to form that
No,
subcommittee.
it isn't. No, it isn't.
I was told it was. And he's gonna get the proper people. Will Hostler, Susan McCarthy, Commissioner McCarthy, and who else? I can't recall. But
I do want to just.
I just think it's important for him just to do the planning commission portion,
I understand, but.
not the administrative.
But it is really all administrative, but I just want to make one comment. When that policy was originally created, it wasn't created through subcommittee. I created it originally, then it went to a subcommittee to be reviewed.
Well, that would be like this one then.
Right.
But it
But-
wasn't ever fully approved what you created. I was on that subcommittee. I was on the subcommittee. It was Sarah McClure, Walt Cuter,
Right.
Will, and myself, and you were in the room.
Well, I just think the whole process before was
How is that not a proper way?
Because it's an administrative,
policy.
it's an administrative policy that no disrespect to the planning sharing bills, but it is no authority to review this and change it, and it's the policy that I created to run the operations of the city.
I'm
But
happy
that's-
for you to keep your part that runs the operation and that helps you supervise the employees,
Well, maybe,
but not to supervise
maybe we can
the
get
planning
through,
commission.
maybe we can get through that, after this portion of the meeting, if that might be more appropriate.
I agree. I'd like to move on, but I
Yeah,
understand we have to get some minutes approved, so.
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple things about the minutes as well. A couple of problems that I had with the changes that were suggested. One of them was when Manager Hendrickson said he was cognizant of who to invite, he was referring to the planners, engineers, and city attorney, not the subcommittee members. The planning chair has the authority to select or delete subcommittee members. I don't believe what Manager Hendrickson said is in conflict with the bylaws, and I would hope that we are careful and diligent before making such an accusation. I believe we should be careful and respectful about presuming who supports or who doesn't support a particular issue in the meeting notes. Unless a vote is taken, we should not be opining on what we believe to be others' opinions, or at least saying so in the meeting notes. In some cases, I may take a devil's advocate position to better understand the other side of an issue. By all appearances, one could assume I'm on a particular side of an issue, but until a vote is taken, how would you really know? It's not fair to me or the other commissioners that you declare in the meeting notes who was in support or not in support of an issue when a vote has not yet been taken. And thirdly, and we've already gone over this, I think it's important to understand the purpose of the meeting notes, which is essentially to document who was at the meeting and what actions were taken from the meeting. That's it. Inserting statements of your opinion becomes a slippery slope.
It wasn't my opinion, it was what was said.
Yeah,
And
what-
Robert's rules say,
and what
if you
you
don't
said,
make an action,
and what you
discussion
said
should be
are
stated.
what you said were your opinions, which is
They were
fine.
not.
We're all here to discuss our opinions. If this is the new norm, then I will be pushing very forcefully for
I don't
full
want it to be the
for
new
full
norm.
transcripts of the meetings to be documented in the meeting notes. Why? Because it's not fair to have one or two commissioners demanding that their statements of opinion and their perceptions of other commissioners' support be documented in the meeting notes without also providing the full context or consent. And how do we at least get full context? Well, that would require a complete transcript of the meeting. I hope this is not where we're headed.
I don't want there to have to be a transcript, and I would like them to be short and sweet. I just felt that the minutes originally suggested that this policy was accepted and that, and the action that was supposed to be taken
There's no problem
from those
with
minutes didn't
updating,
happen.
there's no problem with updating notes to correct them and to make sure that they are correct. But what has happened here, this has gone completely way too far in another direction.
I felt I had to watch the video and be clear
I
with
watched-
what was
I
said.
watched it
I
three-
didn't opine your opinions.
I watched it-
didn't opine mine.
I watched it 3 times and I
So
took,
did I,
and I
and I
took
took
a
notes,
handwritten
as did I.
transcript of it.
So
Because
did I.
I wanted to make sure, when I come to this meeting tonight, that I'm speaking from something that I know about.
I did as well.
Well, we definitely have some different perceptions of how this
Yes, we do.
how this landed. And I think it's a bad precedent to go down this path.
I don't want this
The
to be a
path-
precedent.
The path that we're on now is gonna have to require full transcripts of the meeting, because we cannot have 1 or 2 commissioners dictating what goes into the notes.
Everyone was welcome to put what they wanted to put in the
Yeah.
notes.
Everybody was welcome.
Everybody
Well,
was
yeah,
invited to
and-
and welcome.
We were happy with what was provided to us originally. It accurately stated what the meeting, what happened in the meeting.
I don't think it did.
Oh, it did.
It insinuated
It
it
did.
was approved.
It didn't insinuate anything. Minutes don't insinuate. That's the whole point of minutes. Minutes are supposed to just
And
state
it
what
stated the
happened.
agenda, not things that were all discussed. Not everything on the agenda was discussed, and those bullet points were included in the minutes.
That was because it was provided to us. The whole policy
You don't
was
repeat the
provided to
agenda
us.
in the minutes.
And that reflected the changes that were made.
So we have different, can I just summarize this? We have differing opinions of what the minutes said. To be honest with you, Dirk, what you just said a minute ago, the statement you said, that there were discerning opinions and that's what it should have been in there, should have been in there. But that was what you just said was,
Yeah, I just said, you could make it as simple as simply saying the city manager presented an amended planning services policy, and there were divergent opinions with respect to the same.
and the follow-up was for him to follow, because that was the action item, right? You have to include action items, the planning chair, he said he would do
That
that.
was a request that was made. Right.
Yes.
That was an offer he made. Dave offered that to meet with Walt.
Yes, he did offer. So that was an action item, I think, that he was, and I said, yes, I think that's a good idea. We should do that. So that's where it should be. And everybody, we're not going down this, you're going down this path of he said, she said, and everything, and I get it, and everybody has an opinion on this commission. But in order to hit a resolution, it has to be something as clear, to me, it has to be something as clear as what Dirk said, to say, it was presented, there were differing opinions, the action item that David Hendrickson, the city manager, offered to do was to follow up with the planning chair. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, look,
Only if there isn't that whole agenda
That's what I'm
list
saying.
in there.
All the other stuff is gone, it's that statement.
That and only that, I would be happy.
totally fine with
happy to have.
making adjustments to the meeting notes to clarify things, and that was fine, but, I mean, that's not where we are right now. There are things that are, that are being requested in those notes that are just not true.
Well, then, that's,
And
She verified.
I'm trying to
look,
get
you
a,
may
They were
think,
said, they may not be true, like some things were said that were not true.
but we have to get to a place where we take all this out.
one of the things
And
that
we
was
use
said in
what
the
he
notes
just
is
said.
that Manager Hendrickson was in conflict with the bylaws. That was a change that was requested. What he was doing was not in conflict with the
It
bylaws. That is-
was, because the planning chair is by the bylaws, and it takes a
I
two-thirds vote to
just
change
explained this. The
that.
planning chair has the authority to select or delete subcommittee members. We don't disagree on that. What Manager Hendrickson was doing or saying is that he would like to have
You can select
the trust to
more.
select whether the attorney comes to the meeting, or whether the planner comes to the meeting, or whether the engineer comes to the meeting. They are not the selected subcommittee members. That is different. That is a difference here and so what you're doing is you're saying that Manager Hendrickson is in conflict with the bylaws when he wasn't. And that's just not true.
Do the bylaws state the manager can invite to the subcommittee anybody? I don't know.
It's an open meeting, anybody can go.
If it's an open meeting, yeah.
Yeah,
Until
anybody can go,
this
so-
edict, until this policy.
So
But the only problem,
I'll say it again, and I've read, before the planning services policy was presented to this commission, Dave ran it by me and said, will you take a look and make sure it doesn't violate the bylaws of the planning commission and any ordinances? And I did that, and it doesn't, and it still doesn't. There is nothing in there that impacts how the planning commission does its business. There's nothing in there that violates the planning commission bylaws. Admittedly, the planning chair, under the bylaws, has the ability to appoint people to committees and subcommittees. But that doesn't mean that those are the only people that are that can be at that meeting, because it has to now be an open meeting. So we can go round and around and around, but at the end of the day, both things can be true. The planning chair can still appoint the people and still has the power to appoint them or remove them to the committees, but other people, including an attorney, can attend. So the
there's-
bylaws don't give the planning chair the ability to say, I don't want an attorney. That doesn't exist.
I thought it gave the planning chair the ability to say, yes, I would like to have an attorney at this.
It gives.
He's the one who decides. if there's an
Specifically
attorney
what
there,
the
not
bylaws
city
say is he
manager,
can-
Because he knows what the content of the meeting is.
He can create and appoint the people that serve on the subcommittee or committee, and he can dissolve it and or remove them.
But for
That's-
all the
that's
last
what the
7
bylaws
years,
say.
he has always been the one to decide if an attorney is there. He's the one to decide if a planner is there. It's
No,
not the city
no, no.
manager.
That's not true.
That's not true.
okay, wait a minute, can we see?
And just, let's be clear, those are bylaws. Those are bylaws adopted by the planning commission. Whether or not they're consistent with state law is a question, but they don't trump everybody else. They don't trump the ordinances, they don't trump the charter, they don't trump everybody's individual roles as established by those things. They're just a planning commission rules for how the planning commission itself does business. That's all it is. It's not, it doesn't have the effect of an ordinance. It doesn't have the effect of a resolution adopted by council. It doesn't have the effect of a charter.
Who does the planning commission report to?
Only you. By you, I mean the city commission.
City commission, right?
Correct,
Is
yes.
that correct?
Yes.
They do not report to Dave, is that right?
They don't report to Dave, and Dave doesn't report to them.
Right.
Yeah, that's in
Second
one
thing,
of my
though-
letters that I've issued.
And I do understand about the Open Meetings Act, because we talked about it. The concern that the mayor, and I have the same concern too, is when you start, anybody can show up, you're right. But when they're showing up on our residents' dime, like you, the planners, and everybody else, when they show up for that meeting and our residents have to pay for it, then I'm like, yeah, you need to be a little bit more discreet.
Or an appointed official
Yeah.
who lives in the city determining if we should be spending that money
Yeah.
as well.
I would say that it depends, and I said it earlier, that it should be an ad hoc decision based on the particular subject of being discussed.
Well, then I would trust that that ad hoc decision should be discussed between the planning chair and Dave. And they together decide on who should show up, knowing that we're going to be paying for them.
I think that's generally likely how it happens.
How many planning subcommittee meetings do we have a year?
Well,
12 maybe?
no, we have about 3 or 4 subcommittee meetings here, and actually, we did some research on how many times the attorney shows up to them since 2007.
Dirk, what is your rate?
And we
You were
did-
telling me you would like them every meeting.
165 an
No.
hour.
And we have, you
I didn't say
said that in, okay.
So 4 meetings a year, $165 an hour for 4 hours times those, I mean, what are
Okay,
we?
may I clarify that we are redoing the tree ordinance, the planting ordinance, the accessory
I'm
structure
just-
ordinance?
It's just being
and it's
count
hours upon
foolish
hours.
and penny wise to not have the attorney there for ordinance issues.
While these people decide if a replacement tree is 8 feet or 6 feet, it doesn't, they can gather all their information, like what species of trees and all that, and then take that ordinance and take it to the lawyer and ask him to verify all the legalese.
Lawyer
The hours
can-
and hours of
The lawyer can help direct you to do that, and you may not have to spend hours and hours. The lawyer could keep you maybe, just like Dirk is answering our questions tonight and giving us direction and helping us to resolve something, the lawyer can help you. He's the one that's in charge of the laws and the ordinances. So, if you're going down a path that's
he doesn't
not
determine
going to
what's
be
in them.
legal, he can tell you right away and you don't waste time on that. So, a lawyer is helpful to you.
Often, the planning chair has a lawyer there.
Well,
If it's about a project or about a
but-
proposed building, a
Or,
commercial
yeah,
building.
or if they have their lawyer there. It's, most of
Or
the
if-
time, it's been if they've had their lawyer, right, Dirk?
Yes.
Yeah, most of it, when we know they're gonna have their lawyer there, we always have Dirk. I would say that's
I just don't see how this is a cost issue, and I think it's much more of a cost issue by not having them there and taking the risk of making the wrong decision or going down the wrong path. It just doesn't make any sense to me that we're even
For the
discussing this
ordinances? I agree.
as a cost issue.
Oh, well,
This is,
there are 4 ordinances that need to be done, and it's hours upon hours of meeting and determining what
Well,
goes in them,
but
and yes.
But to
I mean,
me,
do we have a budget for all the added lawyer
to me as a
expenses that this
commissioner,
will
I would
incur?
like to have a lawyer involved in the process, because how do I know the people that are in the subcommittee know how to write an ordinance? I don't know
Because
that.
they've been on the planning commission for
That doesn't
15
mean you
years,
know how to
7
write an
years.
ordinance, so,
They take the old ordinance and they follow the exact same order,
Well-
and then they give it to the lawyer and he verifies it.
By way of example, in the perfect world, Mayor, that's how it would work. But let's just talk about the ordinance amendment for accessory structures. I've gone to 5 separate meetings on that. And virtually every single time I walk out of that meeting with no crystal clear direction in terms of what to do. So I try to distill all the varying opinions I've heard, present it at the next commission, at the next meeting, and then all of a sudden there's new issues. So it's not a matter of simply just saying, okay, we're gonna talk about trees and Dirk, go draft this, because you're right, if that's all of us involved, maybe I don't need to be there. But that isn't how it works, at least.
So I'm confused, you're saying you were at the meeting and it
I
wasn't helpful?
I was at the meetings, on several meetings on accessory structures, an ordinance amendment to the zoning ordinance, and we have labored 4 or 5 meetings on that.
Even
And
with you there, so I
even
don't
with me
know how
there,
that-
and if I wasn't
Many
there,
meetings, you're saying, many
I venture to
hours.
say there'd probably be 10 meetings.
Okay, well, that's more than the 3.
Yeah. It's,
And you were there, and it didn't facilitate them moving faster, or?
I think I've done 4 or 5 drafts of it now. And every time, and everybody's working hard. It's not a function of that. Everybody's trying to get to the right place, but it just goes in so many different directions. And if the expectation is the committee meets without a lawyer, one common theme is established, and then they give it to the lawyer to draft, that just isn't how it worked. And that's just not. I don't know what else to say.
well, normally at subcommittee meetings, we discuss things and how we want them to look and everything, but we never ultimately make a decision. We never have, right? So you would write proposed
If
language.
everybody agreed, then you're right. It seems to me, for whatever it's worth, and I guess I have no real skin in the game anymore, because 8 days I'm not going to be practicing law anymore. But it seems to me that you would want somebody at the meeting who has familiarity with your ordinances, because even if the questions aren't legal, what may occur to the planning chair and what may occur to a commission member that's on the subcommittee and what may occur to an attorney, they're all coming from different places, looking at the same thing, but all coming from different places. And I think that input's important, personally.
Well, that would be good, but we're losing you.
Yeah, and.
So we have someone new coming in that's not as familiar with our ordinances, which is gonna be difficult. How do we move forward
Yes, I would-
with this, my take is we've got 2 differing opinions. I think I heard, I don't know, but I'm not personally not happy with the original. I am happy with what Dirk said. I thought it was short, sweet, to the point, and exactly what it was, that nothing was
I would
decided.
be happy with that as well,
Was
as
there-
long as all the other items were not included, that they looked like they were approved.
Yeah, just what Dirk
weren't
said,
approved.
everything else is taken out. Commissioner?
That would work. I mean, that would be, I have the least amount of familiarity with planning, so I can't comment on all that. But being the rookie on the commission here, when it was presented that you were changing or modifying the procedure, I guess part of the miss was, I didn't realize you had the ability to do it, and you were just informing us that you were doing it. I walked away thinking that it was a policy we were going to approve.
No.
That's the rookie in me. I thought that's how it was left. So I figured, okay, you're gonna follow up with the planning chair, and we'll get feedback, we'll get buy-in from all the parties involved. And so from my perspective, that sounded like a reasonable way to get to the solution. Then we'd have a vote, it'd be over. So, I mean, I can volunteer that when I read the minutes and it read as though it's done, that's where I got disconnected. So, what Dirk presented in terms of discussion, that's absolutely true. I mean, I listened to the recording again the other day. Wish I hadn't, but I did. So, there was a lot of discussion, there were a lot of questions, and if it's merely a formality and you're informing us that the policy is changing and you have the ability to do it and it's no vote, then those 2 changes make sense to me.
Well, the problem is I object to some of the content of the policy that controls the planning
I
commission.
recommend
And
that maybe we
I just
talk,
don't
I recommend that
understand-
maybe we talk about some of those things, after we get through this meeting.
Okay. So, would you like to make a motion that the minutes read what Dirk had said?
Do you want me to say it again?
Can you say it again?
That the city manager presented to the city commission an amended planning services policy, and the commission had divergent opinions with respect to the policy. And I think you wanted to also indicate that, and that the city manager offered to meet with the planning chair to discuss the same.
Okay,
That's
and then
it.
does this all go away?
Yes.
It would go away plus those ads.
Yep,
That's
everything
all I-
goes
Plus the
away,
original too, right?
Can it go away, though?
Yeah.
because we never agreed to the,
We
no.
Don't say it.
The
Amy?
requirement for minutes is that what is approved has to be stricken through as deleted and the new one shown. So what was presented at the meeting last month was presented to you as my draft. That original would be deleted, it would be redlined, and then this motion would be voted on and shown.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yep, we're all good with that.
Would you like to make a motion?
So Dirk, am I making a motion to revise what you have and
Approve the
then
minutes as we just discussed. Just
approve the
discussed.
minutes as Amy and you just said,
Yes.
right? Discussed.
Correct.
Okay.
Right in the money.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any of those opposed, say no. The minutes carried. Great. Minutes are approved. The new minutes are approved.
Can we, I do have a couple of questions on the consent agenda. I mean, on the check,
Check run.
register.
The ledger.
Great.
Yeah. So, do we do bond refunds all at once? I just noticed there's a whole bunch of them.
Right.
Typically, they should be reviewed and refunded on a regular, well, on a 6-month annual basis, it just depends. This time we did have a lump sum that we did all at once. This report actually looks even longer because there were some voids, if you see the.
I saw
view.
voids, yeah, it's my
There
next
was
question.
An issue with the printer, so there was a number of voids, but we did have a large number of bond refunds.
So the void means void,
The check was voided. They printed incorrectly from the printer. It grabbed, it ripped some, and they all had to be voided.
Oh.
So the report looks much longer than it actually should be.
did we fix the printer? Okay, Dave, I noticed on here, it says DTE Energy. Are those streetlights, bulbs or something?
Yes, that's the bill, I think. ET Energy's the streetlights that we, should be, the bill.
Are we putting in LED now, so we don't have to replace them so often?
Well, I think we did with DTE, all the DTE owned poles, I believe we changed to LED some years ago, my recollection.
So are these just old ones?
But I don't think those are bulb, I think that's the bill.
Yeah, that's the
just the
bill.
bill.
That's the
It's-
electric.
That's the light bill, that's the electric bill.
It was what? It's not very much. I mean, it's like $23.13, $52. I just wondered.
Oh,
No, that's the electricity bill for the street lights. And then there's some for utility on there for the buildings at the city hall and DPW. And then there's the DTE lights. So we have the decorative lights and then the DTE
Yeah.
lights. So
That's with it.
those are all just electric bills. that-
Electric bills, not for lights. Okay, okay. And then I saw here too that, is that the last payment for the Eastways water main replacement?
For the project, yeah.
Yeah, the 80,000.
Or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then, I'm sorry, I had another one. Do you want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay. I saw our revenue for permits was up almost 100,000 from budget to actual. Is that right?
Yes.
Because there's just so much that's going on with it? And that all has to stay within the building fund, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. I saw in, my next, moving on, my next question is for, Chief King. And they were talking about, you went to Cranbrook and were working with them, the leadership, to discuss safety programs and so forth. And it made me stop to think, we used to have quarterly visits with Cranbrook. Do we still have those?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on a new CEO or whatever to organize them. She has not gotten back with us.
He finally retired.
Yeah, Rod Sparron retired, and there's a new CFO or CEO or something. Yeah, they haven't organized them yet.
Because I always found those to be beneficial, just to keep
Yes.
the communication between the
Yes.
city and everything going on. And I just hadn't gotten a report or heard about it, so I wondered, could we follow up with that to see if we
Yeah.
can't get that going?
Yeah,
So Rod is gone, I take it.
yes.
When did he retire?
When did he retire? I don't recall exactly what month.
So it's been a while?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I think, Lee, I think we already answered this one about the Chesterfield. An inspection was completed in January per federal requirements. Inspection confirmed rehabilitation is still feasible. So the lining is still feasible to have it worked on. Let's hope we get that done sooner than later.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was that recent report that was
Yeah,
just.
I saw that. Okay. All right, that's all I had, Mayor.
Just one quick thing. Thank you for reminding me. Maybe you've gotten it already, but the north entrance on Woodward that lights up the sign has been flickering at night forever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's just like a strobe light on the
Oh,
on
take
the
care of that.
sign.
Yeah, we'll take
And I thought it was maybe a temporary thing, but it's been doing it for months. So I keep forgetting to tell you, but your electric bill reminded me of that, so.
Brian, did you have any comments about the building or anything?
How do you stay so calm?
Busy, very busy. Okay. And the minutes from the March meeting are also before you. Any corrections or additions to the other minutes? Nope. May I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda for March 11th,
So moved.
2025, as presented? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Great. Consent agenda for April 8th, 2025 is approved. Recognition of citizens in the audience. We'll now open the floor for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Okay. The commission will now adopt a resolution in honor of City Attorney Dirk Beckerleg's exceptional service to the community and recognition of his retirement. Okay. Whereas the City Commission of the City of Bloomfield Hills congratulates Mr. Dirk Beckerleg on his distinguished career practicing law for over 40 years. Whereas Dirk has served as the city attorney for the City of Bloomfield Hills for much of the last several decades and is recognized by many as a consistent voice in guiding the City Commission and administration in all aspects of municipal law. Whereas Dirk proudly serves his firm as managing partner of Seacrest Wardle's Municipal Law Practice Group and also acts as chair of the firm's governmental litigation, municipal law, and real estate practice groups. Whereas Dirk's significant experience, including but not limited to land use matters, zoning regulations, property tax appeals, special assessment districts, tax abatement, and contracts, has been proven invaluable in protecting and serving our city. Whereas Dirk was especially effective in his knowledgeable approach and understanding of the city's ordinances, and specifically providing guidance on our zoning code, where his interpretation and clarity was of great value to the boards, commissions, staff, and residents. Whereas from 2011 to present, Mr. Beckerleg has been recognized in the best lawyer in America, where he has been listed in the land use and zoning, litigation, municipal, and municipal law categories. In the 2020 Best Lawyers, Dirk was named Lawyer of the Year in the land use and zoning section. And in the 2013 edition of Litigation Municipal, he was named Employer of the Year. Whereas Dirk Beckerleg was honored with the Michigan Association of Municipal Attorneys Distinguished Municipal Attorney Award, which recognizes outstanding contributions to the practice of municipal law on behalf of cities, townships, and villages throughout Michigan. This award is a recognition from his peers and colleagues throughout the state, and certainly an illustrious honor to receive. Whereas in 2012, Mr. Beckerleg wrote a chapter entitled Property Taxation for the Michigan Municipal Law Book, published by Institute of Continuing Legal Education. Mr. Beckerleg was also a contributing author to the Michigan Municipal League publication entitled The Michigan Tax Tribunal, an overview for municipal officers and practitioners. Now therefore it be resolved by the Bloomfield Hills City Commission on this 8th day of April 2025 that City Attorney Dirk Beckerleg be highly commended for his unswerving dedication to the citizens of our fine city, and warmest wishes be extended for a well-deserved retirement for his exceptionally distinguished career. Dirk, will you come up and accept the resolution? Thank you very much. Very much. Congratulations.
Best city attorney.
Yes, the best. Very lucky.
Congratulations on your retirement.
Can we get a picture?
Yeah, would you stand right
I
there?
get a picture.
That's perfect. Yeah. Susan, would you mind pointing out a little bit? Thank you. Perfect. Just be the cover of our next newsletter.
All right.
Thank you, Dirk.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate all your service.
I'll be very brief. I just want to say that Bloomfield Hills is an extraordinary city, and it has an extraordinary city commission and an extraordinary staff. I've loved working with all of you. Still have a few more hours to do, but it's been, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for giving me the privilege to represent you. It really means the world to me, and it's a bittersweet moment for me, but I know I'm making the right decision. But thank all of you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dirk.
Thank you.
You will be missed. The commission will now hear the city manager's comments. Thank you, Dave.
Only thing I have to report is that I have been talking with the chief recently, and he's doing a great job getting those cars on the road, those new cars. They are being very proactive on Woodward with all the Woodward noise, so I'm sure that the commission sooner or later would be thinking about that. So I just want to report that. And you've probably seen us out there, you've probably seen the medians all cleaned up, and we're out there cleaning the city up for the spring. That's about it.
Any updates with the trash? Any complaints about the trash pickup? Pretty smooth now?
You know, we get our complaints, but you know, we usually resolve them pretty quick. So nothing out of the ordinary, I don't think. Yeah, no high spikes
It's
or anything.
improved a tad bit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for managing all that. Appreciate it.
It's a group effort.
The commission will now move into an executive session.
I had
Oh, I'm sorry.
Number 6, other business. I'm sorry, for
All
me.
Where
I'm
am
sorry,
I?
Mayor.
Where are we again?
6.
Oh, the commission will consider other business.
I just had 2 questions. So, as the weather was breaking for a little while, and now it's gone cold again, but I began my 5 to 6 mile walks, and I'm noticing some damages to the side of the roads, to some drains falling in. So I was gonna take pictures of those
Yeah, send them to me.
and then get it fixed right away, because there are like some big holes right next to them. And I think it's just from the winter, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Send them right to me. I'll take care of it.
Things like that, okay. And thank you for taking care of the northbound lane down Lasser, just north of Long Lake with that. But I think we're gonna have to do, there's a big pothole there, just as you go in north on Lasser from Long Lake, from the light. And, I mean, we had to swerve it one time, so Dave got it fixed right away, because it was really
Great.
bad.
Thank you.
But I think it's sinking in again, so we
Okay.
might have to take a look at that.
But we're replacing Losser, or would that include the intersection? If we're redoing the road?
Um,
Like-
I'll have to see that. I'll have to see. We own between Long Lake and Hickory Grove is what we own.
So that's part of
Losser.
it, yeah.
So that's part of that.
Yeah, that is part of it.
Road repair.
And then, the Charing Cross, I just,
It's been fixed.
has it been fixed?
Yeah.
Okay,
For a
good.
while now.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Did the insurance come through and they fixed it and everything?
Yeah, the folks that lived over there finally got it done. They finally got the stone they needed and got their contractor over there, and John's not here, but yeah, so we just kept pestering them, but they got it done.
Okay, oh, good. I don't know why, when you were talking about Trowbridge earlier, I was thinking about it. Okay,
It's been a while.
okay, good.
Or
That's
6
all I
months
had.
or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was before winter, wasn't it?
Before winter, yeah.
Oh.
So, Amy, just for procedure purposes, we don't adjourn the meeting, or we do?
You will,
Do we adjourn before we go into the
Or do we need a
executive meeting?
motion to?
Or do I-
you will make a motion with a roll call vote, to move into executive session to hear an attorney opinion letter.
And then we come back out and you adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to allow us to move into executive session to discuss the city attorney opinion?
I'll make a motion to, the commission moves into the executive session to discuss the city attorney opinion.
I'll second it.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I think we have to do a roll call vote, don't
We
we?
do have
Oh,
to
you're
do a
right,
roll
you
call
said that.
Yeah,
Okay, Dave?
Okay, David Fisher?
aye.
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 Commissioner McCarthy?
Susan?
Do I vote?
Yep.
Okay. Mayor Fisher? Aye.
Brad Baxter, aye.
Alice Buckley, aye.
So all is in favor, so we will adjourn the meeting.